Hi, I'm Pam Cullen from 3 Mile Pond Girl Creates, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Augusta ME. And today I'd like to show you how I made this card using the Cheerful Daisies bundle. And I know it's called Daisies, Cheerful Daisies, and my card today is going to be changed into Cheerful Black Eyed Susans because August in Maine, the Black Eyed Susans right now are blooming and they're just gorgeous. And so I thought that as like a early fallish card for my sister-in-law's birthday, I would create this pretty card. So let me show you some of the pieces and some of the items that we're going to be using to make this card. And I don't know if you can see it well on this card or not. I'm going to tip it a little bit. You can see that I have a base layer here with these dots. And this is a really neat die that I've had for a while in my stash and I haven't used it yet. It's called Dots and Spots. And that's exactly what it does, is it makes dots and spots for your card. So you would just take your cardstock, cut it to the size that you want, and then you just run this through your cut and emboss machine, and you get a piece that looks like this, which is really kind of cool. And so it gives you several options for using it on your card. You could just use a strip of this. You could cut it diagonally and make two pieces out of it to kind of kitty corner on your card. But for this card today, I'm going to be using the whole thing, and I'm going to just use it as an accent layer on the front of our card base. So that's one of the pieces that we're going to be using, and for video's sakes, I already have die cut that. So let me show you another one of the dies that I used for this card. The Cheerful Daisies dies has all of these pieces to make these beautiful daisies in layers. You can make different colors and different layers. The leaves, the stems, and this nice piece for cutting out your sentiments. And then there's this piece here that is all connected, one die. And I love that because you can get a really nice focal piece for the front of your card by using this whole thing. But you can also, because Stampin' Up! Has done this, they've just left little pieces so you can cut this out and make it individual pieces very easily, and that's what I've done on this card. So this piece here, I kept those two pieces connected, but then I cut this piece away, and my leaves of course were cut in the crushed curry cardstock as well, and I didn't want the leaves in crushed curry, so I separated these three for arranging on the front of the card. And then I took a piece of garden green and I just put that leaf portion of the die on the garden green and ran it through twice to get these two leaf pieces. And then there's this really nice other piece, like a spray, I guess that's what you would call it. And so I also used the garden green to cut that piece as well. And then I used one of the Stylish Shapes dies, this piece from the Stylish Shapes, to cut the happy birthday sentiment out. And that sentiment and the inside sentiment each come from the Pansy Patch stamp set. The Cheerful Daisies has some great sentiments on here, but for this particular card, I just wanted that happy birthday on the front. So I'm using the happy birthday here, and then the wishing you a little extra happiness just because you're you for the inside of the card. So that's our card that we're going to be doing. Those are the products that we're going to be using for this card. Now let me show you the pieces. So we have a card base of 11 by 4 1/4 that's scored at 5 1/2, and then we have a 5 1/4 by 4 piece for the inside of our card, and then we have another piece of Night of Navy that's 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 that I've run through the cut and emboss machine for the front of our card. So that's going to be the same size as our card base for that front. And then we just need some scrap pieces of the garden green and the crushed curry to do our die cutting. So see, you would just put that on, run it through, and then you can cut those pieces apart. So again, for the video purposes, I have already run them through the die cutting machine, but I wanted to show you how I cut these just to give you an idea. I did leave them whole so we could do that together on the video. So this is, I just took my snips, and of course this piece here is part of that leaf, and so we don't want that, so we're just going to carefully trim that. See, now you can't even tell that that was put together. And then I know there are 2 of these, and I'll use that for another card that I'm making, but I did cut these away. You can just trim that up. And then like I said, I kept these pieces together for my first kind of this was my baseline for, this is how I started with the card. And then I decided that I wanted to use one of these. So again, I'm just going to trim these little tag pieces off this. So we have that piece, and then the 2 of these, and then we'll be done with separating these. See how easy that is? And no one's ever going to know that you did that. Trim that up a smidge. Here we go. So we need those 2 pieces and this piece. And I'll just hold on to that other piece for another card. So then I wanted to give these flowers the look of Black Eyed Susan. So I took, the only ink we're going to be using for this card is copper clay, which is one of our new in colors. And so I took the stamp pad and a sponge dauber, and I'm going to just bring in a little scrap piece of paper to protect my surface here. There we go. And then I just lightly tap that in the copper clay ink. Just going to wipe it off just a little bit so it's not quite so dark. And then just gently, I'm going to rub those centers with that copper clay. And then I'm going to take a little bit more off. I want to take most of it off because I just want a little bit on these edges. And that's all I did. You can go as heavy or as light as you want to on your flowers. It's totally up to you. You could use a different color ink if you like, but I thought this one added some nice, it makes it look kind of, I don't know, vintage or something. I'm not sure. I just like the way it looked when I added that color to it. I started out with the centers, and then the crushed curry was really like bright yellow. So that was my reasoning for that, was to just kind of tone that yellow, excuse me, tone that yellow down a little bit and make it look like the Black Eyed Susans. So that's all we need to do for those pieces. And then while we have that ink out, we'll go ahead and do our stamping for, I'll set this aside for just a second, and we'll go ahead and do our stamping on our front piece. Again, I'll bring this in. So, and this is totally up to you, your comfort. Sometimes I stamp and then cut, and sometimes I cut and then stamp. It's totally up to you. And let's hope I don't have another piece. Let's hope I get this straight. Then we're just going to put that on. Not too bad. Okay, so we have that. And then we'll bring in our basic white piece here. And we'll stamp that other inside piece. Wishing you a little extra happiness just because you're you. Whoops, got ink on my fingers here. Let's turn this over. Let's turn this over. See if we can get, let's see if we can try that again. All right. Put this a little bit up near the top so there's still room for me to write something on it near the bottom. All right, there's our inside piece. So that's all the stamping that we need to do for this card. So I think we can start putting this card together. I'm going to bring my snips back in and let's see here. Let's bring our pieces in. So here are all our pieces. We'll put that inside sentiment away for a minute. So one of the things, the first thing I did was I used my liquid glue, and you can see on this piece that there's a little bit of space in between the dots, because obviously you don't want to put glue where the dots are because you'll be able to see that it will leak through. So there's a little space at the bottom, a little space on the sides here. And then I just put a few spaces in between here in the middle to be sure that that will stick down. And I'm going to use, there's a little bit more of a scallop to the edge just the way I put it in the die. And I'm going to put that at the bottom of this card because I think I like the look of it there. So then you're just going to line this up with the front of your card. Press that down. See, isn't that nice? It just gives it a nice little extra feature to the front. So the most tedious part about this card was putting the daisies are so small that and I wanted them up on dimensionals. So unfortunately, it takes a little bit of time to put the dimensionals on this because I had to cut some of them in half to make them fit on the small daisies. So I apologize for that. So the first thing I did was I put my sentiment piece on because I wanted to be sure I had room for that at the bottom. And then I kind of arranged the rest of the florals around the sentiment piece. So I'm just going to put a couple of dimensionals on here. And then we'll put our sentiment piece down here near the bottom. And then we'll start putting some dimensionals on these pieces here. And yes, I did use mini dimensionals on most of this card because they seem to just fit. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to put these where there's a bigger space so they won't show through. So the bigger daisies, that was easy to do. However, on the smaller daisies, and I suppose could use some glue dots, but it wouldn't stand up as much with a glue dot, so I decided to just cut some of these mini dimensionals in half. Yep, I'm just checking on the other side to make sure that they're not showing through. So then I just took my big scissors and I just cut those minis in half and did the same thing. Just kind of stuck them where the biggest pieces on this daisy were. And that seemed to work out pretty well. So just, again, cutting those. You can also use the little pieces on the edge of your, that's all sticky there as well in your dimensionals, so you can cut pieces of that as well if you want to. It's up to you. And then I'm just going to stick one more here. And then I think the regular ones will fit here. Let's see. Yep. Maybe I'll just take another hat. Let's see if it will go there. Yes. All right. We did it. Okay. So now we can start placing. We can start figuring out how we wanted to place this on our front of our card. So I'm going to take the backs off this, but I'm not going to press this down really hard until I get everything placed how I like it. And then we'll make sure it's adhered really well. Okay, so this is going to go, I think we'll start with that up here. So we'll just set that carefully there. And then the next piece I placed was this one. And I kind of tucked, I wanted to tuck this under here a little. All right, I think we're looking good. And then this piece, go over here. Oops, get a little back to the dimensional. Okay. And then the last daisy tucked over here, and then we'll fill in with our leaves. Okay, and we'll stick that one right there. There. I think I like how that looks, so I'm going to make sure that those dimensionals are pressed down well. All right, I think we're looking good. So now, again, these little pieces, and one of the other things that you could, there's a couple things you could do on these because they're so detailed. You can use the adhesive sheets when you run this through, and it would make it like a sticker. So then you could just peel it off and stick it down on your card, which for these kinds of things, that's really what it's made for. But since I'm just going to tuck these under those sunflowers, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, liquid glue, on the end and then tuck it in here. Oops, let's bring that out a little. Try that again. Let's see. Tuck it under there. There we go. And you can, on this, because this is not, and I may do that after the video, where these are not set up on dimensionals, you can take a little glue dot and stuff it, stick it underneath right there to hold that piece of leaf down if you want it to be a little bit more secure. So again, I'm just going to do a little bit on the end. We'll tuck this one up here. And you just want to make sure when you're doing this that you make sure, wow, that you make sure that it's not over the edge of your card, because then it won't fit in your envelope. Then it will bend when you get in your envelope. So you want to make sure that that's tucked over. Whoops. Let's put that back. Go. All right, and then the last piece to put on the front is this little piece. And again, this is really small. So I'm going real easy with the glue. I'll put that piece right up here. There's the front of our card. There we go. So the last piece we need to put in is our sentiment, our inside sentiment piece. So I'm just going to put some liquid glue on that. Center that on the inside of our card. There, and we're finished with this card. So there's our card for today, and I hope you like this idea. And if you try it, I'd love to see what you come up with. So send me a picture. I'd love to see it if you recreate this card at home. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator, and so you can reach out to me. All my contact information is below this video. And this month we have some fun things going on. If you ordered from me last month and earned bonus during bonus days and you earned your coupon codes, don't forget to use those this month. For every $50 you spent, you get $5 to use on your orders this month. And all of the kits in the kit collection are on sale, and some of them are up to 30% off. And they've got a wide variety of things. They've got some great, there's a new Christmas tag kit that came out, and that one I think is $11.70. And I ordered that, and I probably am going to be previewing that in an upcoming video, so you'll be able to see that as well. So there's lots of things going on, and the new catalog is coming out, a mini catalog for September to December, and with a lot of fall and Christmas items in there. So if you'd like to have a catalog, reach out to me and I'll get one of those right in the mail to you. And if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd really appreciate it if you did that. And you can do that below this video, and there's a little bell icon that you can click on as well that will notify you whenever I have a new video. So thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. I hope you enjoyed this card, and I will be back with you again soon. Take care.